Hello viewers, in this video I am going to discuss about the introduction of enzymes and their properties. Now, what are enzymes? Enzymes are biological catalysts which bring about chemical reactions in living cells. So in biological systems, all chemical reactions are taking place in presence of enzymes. They are produced by the living organism and are usually present in only very small amounts in the various cells. They are generally globular proteins. What are globular proteins? Globular proteins are the proteins which are present in the globular form, in the globule, that is, they are folding in the spherical form. So they are globular proteins. Some special RNA species also act as enzymes and are called ribozymes. So enzymes are majorly the globular proteins, but some enzymes can be ribozymes. Now, if we have to find out the similarities between enzymes, which is biocatalysts, and catalysts, that is inorganic catalysts, then both accelerate the rate of the reaction. So they are increasing the rate of reaction. Then both of them bring about a decrease in activation energy. So activation energy is lowered down by both enzymes and catalysts, and because of this lowering of activation energy, rate of reaction is increased. Then both are needed in small quantities. Both of them do not undergo any change in their composition and so can be used again and again, since they are regenerated and therefore they are needed in small quantities. Both of them do not alter the nature and the quantity of the product. That means they are only increasing the rate of the reaction and not altering, not changing the nature and the quantity of the product. Now, if we have to find out the difference between enzymes and inorganic catalysts, then the first difference, enzymes are higher molecular weight globular proteins. We know that proteins are polymers of amino acids and we know that they are macromolecules, so they have very high molecular weight. While the inorganic catalysts are simple inorganic molecules with low molecular weight. So this is first difference. Then second, enzymatic reactions are increased by factors of as much as 1,000,000 or more over non-enzymatic reactions. That means if we compare the rate of reaction for the enzymatic reaction and the rate of the reaction for the non-enzymatic reaction, then the enzymatic reactions are, the rate of the reaction in case of enzymatic reactions are as much as 1,000,000 or more times faster than the non-enzymatic reaction. While in the inorganic catalyst, the rate of reaction is increased by around 10 to the power 4 times. Greater reaction specificity of enzymes with respect to substrate or product. That means enzymes are specific in nature. They can be specific with respect to substrate, they can be specific with respect to product, they can be specific with respect to reaction. While the inorganic catalysts are not specific in nature. Then rate of reaction can be regulated in enzymatic reactions. I have discussed this in this video only, that how the rate of reaction can be regulated. While the rate of reaction cannot be regulated in case of inorganic catalysts. Enzymes are significantly affected by temperature and pH. An enzyme cannot function outside its temperature and pH range. There is a range, temperature range and pH range, where enzymes are showing its enzymatic activity. Beyond that range, that means less than that range or more than that range, they will not show the enzymatic activity. They cannot function outside the range. And this is due to the denaturation of proteins. Enzymes are the proteins and proteins get denatured at high temperature and at the pH below or high to this range. This you can see in my video on the factors affecting the enzymatic reactions. So in that video I have discussed it in the details. While the catalysts function within wide range of temperature and pH. So in inorganic catalysts, there is no such range. There is a wide range of temperature and pH in which it can act. So now the classification of enzyme. Enzyme can be classified into two types, simple protein enzyme and complex protein enzyme. Simple protein enzyme, as the name indicates, contains simple proteins only. So when only simple proteins are present, they are simple protein enzymes. So only protein molecule is there. While the complex protein enzyme contains conjugated proteins. What is conjugated proteins? Conjugated proteins are those proteins where there is a protein part and there is a non-protein part. So both parts are, two parts are present. One is protein part, another is non-protein part. So in complex protein enzyme, the protein part is apoenzyme and the non-protein part is cofactor. This is apoenzyme, it is protein part, and cofactor is a non-protein part. And when we combine the two, apoenzyme plus cofactor, it gives holoenzyme. So this holoenzyme is showing enzymatic activity, while apoenzyme is not having any enzymatic activity. That means complex protein enzyme needs cofactor to show the enzymatic activity. So cofactors. Cofactors are that non-protein part which is required by the enzyme to show its activity. So cofactors can be organic molecules or they can be inorganic ions. If they are organic molecules, then again they are of two types, coenzymes and prosthetic group. Coenzymes, they may be separated from the enzyme. So if that organic molecule can be separated from the enzyme, so all those cofactors which are organic molecules and which can be separated from the enzymes are called coenzymes, and all those organic molecules which are bound to the enzyme and therefore cannot be separated by the enzymes are called prosthetic group. So I hope it is clear. Coenzyme is that organic molecule which can be separated from the enzyme, while the prosthetic group is that cofactor which is bound to the enzyme. Then comes the inorganic ions. Inorganic ions are also of two types, metalloenzyme. Metalloenzyme are those enzymes in which metal ion is bound to the enzyme. So if the metal ion is bound to the enzyme, then it is metalloenzyme. Otherwise, it is metal activated enzymes. Okay. When you, if you want to see more about the cofactors, you can watch my video on cofactors where I have discussed this organic part in the details by taking various examples of cofactors. Now, another classification. Enzymes can be classified as endoenzyme and exoenzymes. Endoenzymes are also called intracellular enzymes and exoenzymes are called extracellular enzymes. As the name indicates, intracellular enzymes means all those enzymes which usually act within the cells in which they are produced. Intracellular, with intra means within. So these enzymes usually act within the cells in which they are produced. Most of the enzymes are endoenzymes. So most of the plant enzymes or general enzymes, they are intracellular enzymes or endoenzymes. Now the extracellular enzymes are those enzymes which are synthesized in the cells but secreted from the cells to work externally. So they are produced in one cell and acting on the another cell. Then they are extracellular enzymes and the example is digestive enzymes. This part also I have discussed in this video. Now we are coming. So this is all about the introduction of enzymes, and now we are coming to the second part of this video, that is the properties of enzymes. Okay. The very important property of enzyme is its catalytic power. So enzymes have enormous catalytic power, that is they accelerate the reactions by factors of as much as 1,000,000 or more over uncatalyzed reactions. Most of the chemical reactions in the biological systems do not occur at perceptible rates in absence of enzyme. So enzyme is required in the biological system for a reaction to take place. Now let us say this reaction. Carbon dioxide react with water to give carbonic acid. That means it is hydration of the carbon dioxide. And this reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme carbonic anhydrase. Now see, that enzyme carbonic anhydrase catalyze this reaction and can hydrate 10 to the power 6 molecules of carbon dioxide in 1 second. That means in 1 second, 10 to the power 6 molecules of carbon dioxide is hydrated. This catalyzed reaction is 10 to the power 7 times faster than the uncatalyzed reaction. So just imagine how much the rate of reaction is increased when this reaction is taking place in presence of enzyme. So enzymes are having enormous catalytic power. This is the first property. Now the second property is specificity of enzymes. We have seen that enzymes are highly specific in nature. So they are specific in nature and they are specific both in the reaction they are catalyzing and in their choice of reactants, that is the substrates. Okay. An enzyme usually catalyzes a single chemical reaction or a set of closely related reactions. The degree of specificity of enzymes for a substrate is usually high. Degree of specificity high means of the substrate is high means that they are acting on a particular type of the substrate, and sometimes virtually absolute. Virtually absolute means an enzyme can act only on one substrate, then it is virtually absolute. So for example, proteolytic enzymes, they catalyze the hydrolysis of a peptide bond. Proteolytic means hydrolysis of the peptide bond. Their degree of substrate specificity is very high. See, example, trypsin. Trypsin is specific as it cleaves the peptide bond on the carboxyl side of lysine and arginine residue only. Let's say this example. Here, it is a pentapeptide. These are the peptide bonds, CONH, CO. These are the peptide bonds. And if we treat this pentapeptide with trypsin, then this trypsin, the enzyme trypsin will cleave the peptide bond on the carboxyl side of lysine or arginine. This is lysine. Okay, this is lysine and this is the carboxyl side. Therefore, trypsin will cleave this bond, CONH, this peptide bond, because in this peptide bond on the carboxyl side, lysine is present. And since the bond is cleaved here, so you will get a tripeptide from this fragment and a dipeptide from this fragment. I hope I am clear to everyone. Then comes chymotrypsin. Chymotrypsin cleaves the peptide bond on the carboxyl side of phenylalanine, tyrosine and tryptophan. See again, it is a pentapeptide and we'll treat it with the chymotrypsin. Then we have to find out the phenylalanine, tyrosine and tryptophan. Yes, here phenylalanine is there. So carboxyl side, phenylalanine is there. So the chymotrypsin will cleave this peptide bond to give one this fragment and another this fragment. Okay, so cleavage from here. So a tripeptide from here and a dipeptide from here. Okay. Then comes thrombin. Thrombin is an enzyme that participates in blood clotting, and this is even more specific than trypsin and chymotrypsin. We have seen the example of trypsin and chymotrypsin. There we have seen that these enzymes are specific on the carboxyl side of the peptide. That on the carboxyl side, if you have the lysine and arginine, then the trypsin will cleave that peptide bond. And if it is having phenylalanine, tyrosine or tryptophan, then it is a chymotrypsin will cleave that peptide bond. While the thrombin cleaves the peptide bond at arginine on the carboxyl side and glycine on the amino acid. So both the sides are fixed. Now let's see the example. So in this peptide bond on the carboxyl side, arginine is there. On the amino side, glycine is there. So the thrombin will cleave this peptide bond and therefore this as one fragment and this as another fragment. So you will get two fragments, this as dipeptide and this as tripeptide. So I hope I am clear to all of you that how the trypsin, chymotrypsin and thrombin cleaves the peptide bond at a particular point. Now, enzymes may be specific as we have seen, enzymes are specific and they show three types of specificity. One is reaction specificity or substrate specificity. An enzyme may catalyze a particular type of reaction. These are called reaction specific. For example, esterases hydrolyze only esters. So this is reaction specific. While on the other hand, an enzyme may be specific for a particular compound or a class of compounds. That is called substrate specific. For example, urease hydrolyzes only urea. Phosphatase hydrolyzes only phosphate esters. So they are substrate specific. While esterase hydrolyze only esters, so that is reaction specific. And I told you sometimes it is virtually absolute. So virtually absolute, for example, you can take lactase. Lactase hydrolyze only lactose. Okay, so this is highly specific because that lactase enzyme is acting only on lactose and therefore that is absolute specificity. Then comes the kinetic specificity. As the name indicates, kinetic means rate we are talking about. So an enzyme may exhibit kinetic specificity. That is, they do not favor all reactions of the same type to the same extent. For example, esterases. Esterases hydrolyze all esters, but hydrolyze various ester at different rates. So that is kinetic specificity. Let's talk about pepsin. Pepsin is an enzyme which hydrolyzes the peptide linkage, but is most active. So it is hydrolyzing all the peptide linkage, but it is most active for those links in which amino group belongs to an aromatic amino acid and the carboxyl is one of a dicarboxylic amino acid. Okay, so pepsin is again showing a kinetic specificity like esterase, and here the specificity, kinetic specificity is that it is hydrolyzing all the peptide linkages, but most active or the rate of reaction of that peptide is more where the amino group is belonging to an aromatic amino acid and the carboxyl group is one of a dicarboxylic amino acid. Okay, so this is about the kinetic specificity, and now the third, that is the stereospecificity. So enzymes may be stereospecific in nature, that is, they speed up the reaction at only one stereoisomeric form. For example, maltase is an enzyme which hydrolyzes only alpha glycosides but not beta glycosides, whereas emulsin hydrolyzes beta glycosides but not alpha glycosides. Let's see. This is alpha 1,4-glycosidic linkage. Okay. The alpha means at C1 the OH group is present below the plane of the ring. So if the OH is here, then it is alpha, and we can see that this OH, this oxygen, the one is bounded at C1 carbon from here and C4 carbon. So it is alpha 1,4-glycosidic linkage. So the maltase will hydrolyze it, but emulsin cannot hydrolyze it. Okay, while this is beta 1,4-glycosidic linkage, beta means when the OH group at C1 is present above the plane of the ring. So the C1 and C4 and the O is above the plane of the ring, then it is beta 1,4-glycosidic linkage and emulsin can hydrolyze it, not the maltase. Therefore, they are stereospecific in nature. So this is all about the specificity. Now one more thing which is very important is that a given enzyme can exhibit more than one type of specificities. For example, esterase. Esterase we have seen that is reaction specific because it hydrolyzes only esters, but it may also hydrolyze one enantiomer of an optically active ester more rapidly than other, so it is kinetic specific. Okay, so therefore an enzyme can have more than one specificities. So this is the second property of the enzymes, that enzymes are specific in nature. Now the third, enzymatic activities can be regulated. So how the enzymatic activities or the activities of some enzymes can be regulated? Some enzymes are synthesized in an inactive precursor form and are activated at a physiological appropriate time and place. So they are prepared in the inactive form. So inactive forms of enzymes are called Zymogen. So they are synthesized in the inactive form and then they are converted into the active form at an appropriate time and place. For example, digestive enzymes. Trypsinogen. Trypsinogen is the inactive precursor form, or you can say zymogen of the active enzyme trypsin. So trypsin is the active enzyme and trypsinogen is its inactive precursor form. So trypsinogen is synthesized in the pancreas and is activated by the peptide bond cleavage in the small intestine. So trypsinogen is synthesized in pancreas, but it is activated in the small intestine by the cleavage of the peptide bond to convert it into the active enzyme trypsin. Now, if the trypsin were active when synthesized, it would immediately begin to work on the proteins of the pancreas to destroy them. And therefore, trypsin should be in the inactive form in the pancreas. While when they reach to small intestine, trypsinogen is converted into trypsin by the enzyme enterokinase. So enterokinase, what is enterokinase is doing? Enterokinase is converting the inactive trypsinogen into the active trypsin. And this can be done by as these enzymes can cleave a peptide bond near one end of the trypsinogen molecule, which changes its conformation to the active form. See this, from this diagram you can easily understand. See here, this part is the active part. So this is the extra section which is present here. This is the extra section and this is by the linkage between the two amino acids. So this is zymogen, or you can say the inactive precursor. So these peptide linkages can be hydrolyzed. So activation by the hydrolysis of the specific peptide bonds. So the peptide bonds get hydrolyzed and this side is getting converted into active side. So now the enzyme is active enzyme and can carry out the enzymatic activity. So the enzyme's activity can be regulated. Then enzyme, this is the fourth property, again very important property. Enzymes transform different kinds of energy. In many biochemical reactions, the energy of the reactants is converted into a different form with high efficiency. For example, in photosynthesis, the light energy is converted into chemical bond energy. All of you know in photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water is getting converted into glucose. So glucose is what? Chemical, the molecule is formed. So energy, the light energy, this reaction is taking place in presence of light. So light energy is converted into chemical bond energy. Then in mitochondria, the free energy contained in small molecules derived from foods. Small molecules derived from foods. For example, if it is glucose, so the glucose is getting converted into carbon dioxide and water and ATP is generated. And what is ATP? ATP is the molecule which is conserving energy, energy rich molecule. ATP is energy rich molecule. So in mitochondria, the food is getting converted into ATP. And now this ATP, since it is energy rich molecule, so it, whenever the energy is required, ATP is getting converted into ADP and releases energy, and that energy released is consumed in some activity. For example, in muscular contraction, the energy of ATP is converted into mechanical energy. So wherever energy is required, that energy is supplied by ATP. So these transformations of energy are carried out by enzyme molecules. Then, fifth property, enzymes do not alter reaction equilibrium. An enzyme is a catalyst and we know that a catalyst cannot alter the equilibrium of a chemical reaction. That means that an enzyme can accelerate the forward and the backward reaction by precisely same factor. And since both the forward and the backward reactions are increased, the rate of the reaction is increased, whether it is a backward reaction or the forward reaction, to the same extent, to the same factor, so the overall equilibrium will remain same, and hence an enzyme cannot alter the equilibrium of a chemical reaction. Now the sixth property, enzymes decrease the activation energies of the reaction catalyzed by them. See, reactants are getting converted into products. Now for reactants to getting converted into product, they have to cross this barrier. This is transition state, so they have to cross this barrier. More is the, you can say, height of this hill, more is the energy required, more difficult will be for the reactants to cross this barrier and get converted into products. See here, this red line indicates the reaction taking place in absence of enzyme, that is without enzyme. So this is the energy of the reactant, this is the energy of the transition state. So this much activation energy is required when the enzyme is not present. Now in the presence of enzyme, see, activation energy is lower down. This blue line indicates the plot for the reaction in presence of enzyme. So here you can see this is the activation energy in presence of enzyme. So activation energy is lower down. So more and more reactants now can be getting converted into product, as the energy of the transition state is so low that reactant can easily converted into products, and therefore the enzymes are the rate of reaction in presence of enzymes are increased. Now why they are and how the activation energy of this reaction is lower down in the presence of enzyme. For that you can see my video on the mechanism of enzyme action. Now this is an example. Decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide gets decomposed into water and oxygen. When this reaction is taking place in presence of platinum. Platinum, all of you know, it is an inorganic catalyst. The activation energy for this reaction is 50.2 kilojoule per mole. While if this same reaction is carried out in presence of the enzyme catalase. So in presence of this enzyme catalase, activation energy is 2.5 kilojoule per mole. So you can see from 50.2 it is reduced to 2.5. And since activation energy is so low that the rate of reaction is increased to a large extent. As we have seen, that reactant can be easily converted into product when activation energy is lower down. Okay. Now the seventh, formation of an enzyme substrate complex. It is the first step in the enzymatic catalysis that enzyme form complex with the substrate. The making and breaking of chemical bonds by an enzyme are preceded by the formation of an enzyme substrate complex. Okay. Now the substrate is bound to the enzyme at a very specific region, a specific site, which is called active site. And the most enzymes are highly selective in their binding of the substrate. And the catalytic specificity of enzymes depends in large on the specificity of these binding processes. So the first step in the enzymatic catalysis is the enzyme substrate complex is formed. Now what is the active site and how the enzyme and substrate form complex, and how then the enzyme substrate complex releases the product and the enzyme is regenerated. For all details of this, you can see my video on mechanism of enzyme action. And now the eighth and the last property of the enzymes is enzyme inhibition. Enzymes can be inhibited by specific molecules which are called inhibitors. The inhibition of enzymatic activity serves as a major control mechanism in biological system. Many drugs and toxic agents act by inhibiting the enzymes. So enzyme inhibition can be a source of insight into the mechanism of enzyme action. For the detail of enzyme inhibition, you can watch my video on this same topic, enzyme inhibition. So I hope this topic is clear to everyone, that what are enzymes, what are the various classification of enzymes, and what are the various properties of the enzymes. Thanks for watching.